We also watched AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, also July 15th, 2020. Spiffy music video entrance package, plugging all the big matches of the show, making it clear this is not just another episode of Dynamite, it is something special. Tony Schiavone, unable to make it due to late results from a COVID test, so he's replaced by Taz in the first half of the show, and Jericho in the second half, and they made it clear that he had not tested positive, he just hadn't gotten his results yet, and so he was taking a week off. We open with Cody versus Sonny Kiss for the TNT title. So, I love that Cody just comes out, just him and Arn and his music, nothing special, and then Sonny comes out, and this is his moment. And he's got the Jacksonville Jaguars cheerleaders, and they've got a whole routine planned out, and he's a better dancer than they are. He totally outshines them. This is a superstar entrance. So the bell rings, Cody immediately takes over with a kick, and he's working him over, and from the get-go here, he's being a dick. Arn even has to pull him aside early on and say, get your head out of your ass, get your head in the game. And there's been a long-term slow build storyline to a Cody heel turn. But more importantly for this match, the other guy is Sonny Kiss. We needed a heel in this match. It's going to be Cody. So there you go. So do this match for a while. Like in the middle of the match, Sonny hits a crossroads, gets a 2 count off it. But there's a strange spot to hit the other guy's finish. They start brawling out on the ramp. Cody does an Alabama slam on the ramp. That looked very brutal. So he then proceeds with the next 2 or 3 minutes to hit a bunch of finishes that Sonny keeps kicking out of. Cop Killer gets 2. Top rope superplex gets 2. A crossface gets hooked. Sonny gets the ropes. And Cody's getting frustrated. JR is noting that in his frustration, he's not making good pin attempts. Lackluster efforts on the covers. So Cody's just pissed off. He gets the mount. He starts throwing in the Tito Ortiz elbows. He yanks off a turnbuckle pad, a dirty trick to try and injure a man, but then lo and behold, he gets knocked into it himself. And there is a strike exchange, but in the middle of the strike exchange, Cody essentially lures Sonny into, I forget if it was a kick or a punch, but you can see Cody set him up to throw it. When he threw it, Cody ducked, hit the crossroads for the win. Great storytelling here, both in the sense of it was David and Goliath, because Cody was the heavy favorite here. They never pretended he was not. So it had a great David and Goliath story. And also the fact Cody got so frustrated when David kept kicking out and Goliath got pissed off and had to change tactics. This is a very, very good pro wrestling match.
I think the obvious couple of stories are a potential Cody heel turn and also him getting worn down by defending this title every single week.
Also true.
And I watched these on delay, and so I'd gotten all these emails and texts, and this person was just like raving, oh my God, it was just so awesome. Like Cody just couldn't beat Sonny Kiss. And so I went into this thinking it was going to be a draw. And I actually would have been totally fine with this going to a draw.
This would have been a good spot for a draw.
This story, this Cody story, I feel, needs a match where there's somebody that he should easily beat that manages to take him to a draw because he's getting overworked. He's slipping. It's just too much. He's getting worn down. This was not the match, but this was the old school Ric Flair match, which is give everything to the other guy. Give. Cut him off, but then give. The whole match was like this. And it got Sonny Kiss over bigger than he's ever been on the AEW main roster. By far, Cody still won in the end. It told a great story. This was the best Sonny has ever looked. I mean, it's only been a few matches on Dynamite, but it was the best he's ever looked by far. And I loved the story. And that was it. It was great. Great opener.
And despite Cody's misbehavior in this match, he and Sonny did embrace afterwards, and then Cody embraced Arn as well.
Should note that JR's exact words were, this should be an easy win for Cody, but it might not be.
Yeah.
That's every week now. Because he's defending this title every single week. And nobody wrestles every week on this show.
No. Dynamite guys that go maybe a month between matches, some of them. Like big names. So yeah, it's a big deal. Tonight, it is Fight for the Fallen, helping to raise money for families affected by COVID-19. Your main event Jon Moxley defends the AEW title against Brian Cage. The debut of the Nightmare Sisters. Chris Jericho has something to say. The Elite versus the Jurassic Express. And your opener, the Lucha Brothers versus FTR. So it is the Lucha Brothers and FTR. The truck is still in the possession of the Lucha Brothers and Butcher and the Blade. They drive the truck out, and Penta gets out, and it's the same Pentagon Jr. I've been seeing for years. It's the same Lucha Brothers theme I've been hearing since, I think, Dynamite episode 1. But somehow, I don't know if it's the truck or just being on the ramp, Penta was just dripping with swag walking out of this truck and looking at the camera and strutting to his music. It was awesome. So I had very, very high hopes for this match. It was not a great match. It was a good TV match. There was an awesome moment near the end where Phoenix tries a diving Hurricane Rana on Cash, but Cash catches him and hooks him up for a powerbomb. That was very, very cool. Then there is the Powerplex attempt by FTR where they do the Superplex and the top-up splash, but whichever one does the splash, hit the guy got the knees up, and then Phoenix tried to splash, and the FTR guy got the knees up. You have a quadruple down. And that was really the key moment, because then they all kicked it into high gear, and the last 2 minutes was the best 2 minutes of the match by far. So Phoenix and Dax Harwood are in the ring, and I love this finish. Phoenix does a tiger feint kick, like a 619, but halfway through, he reverses his direction back into the ring and uses that momentum to do a spinning reverse roundhouse kick to the head. It's awesome. But then a minute later, he tries it again. Dax, no dummy, knows it's coming. He ducks. He yanks the mask off of Rey Fenix. Phoenix has to cover up his face, and Dax cradles him and gets the win. The last 2 or 3 minutes were great in this match.
You know what's funny about this match? I thought this match was really good, but it was very, very... It was hit and miss early, including a spot where the Lucha Brothers could not figure out how to do their own wheelbarrow spot.
That did happen.
Involving literally FTR had to do nothing.
One guy's laying on the mat.
100% them, and they screwed it up. So, obviously, FTR, no flips, just fists. Lucha Brothers, no fists, just flips. Okay?
That would be a great shirt.
So, what's funny is, when you take the team that doesn't do any lucha, that's their gimmick, and then the other team is so lucha that they don't tag, in fact, they don't work great together.
That did happen.
Okay?
Yeah.
But then the second half of the match, FTR threw their gimmick out the window, quite frankly. Not totally. But I mean, at one point, a Cash hits a tope into a tornado DDT on the floor.
Yes.
Okay?
Perilously close to a flip.
Technically, it's not a flip, but it's definitely not a fist.
No.
And when they began to basically wrestle Pentagon and Phoenix's match, the match was fucking great.
That's actually a very good description of what happened.
So anyway, that was that. I thought the finish was awesome. Excalibur notes, DQ in Mexico, not in AEW.
That's right.
They took advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, very, very good finish.
So the Butcher and Blade are very disappointed their friends have been defeated, but they're still taunting FTR. We still have the keys to your truck. But then they are jumped from behind by the Young Bucks, who take the key. Matt Jackson is wearing a shirt that has a pair of hands in prayer position in rainbow colors, and it says, Christian AF.
Yes. It's our new gimmick.
This strikes me as a mixed message. But
they are Christian as fuck.
Yes. That makes me laugh. That's all. So Kenny Omega comes out with a cooler, and they're trying to make friends with FTR. They've had their differences lately. Bucks say, look, we got you your truck back. Kenny Omega says, look, last time you guys offered me a beer, I was not in the mood. I poured the beer out and you got mad. I would like to share a beer with you now. And they all take beers and they all crack their beers open. But then instead of drinking the beers, FTR pours theirs over Kenny's head and he's fuming.
Should make Hangman upset as well. It's a waste of a perfectly good couple of beers.
The only reason he wouldn't be is he had plenty of his own alcohol.
Yes.
So that's Omega lost his beers. That's not Hangman's problem. The Inner Circle comes out for a promo. I can't say enough good things about this segment. I want to stop this show right now and go back and watch it again. I would rather watch it than talk about it. But I'm being paid to talk about it, not watch it. So Jericho says, last week, I had one of the best matches in AEW history against Orange Cassidy, and I won the ratings war as well, as I do every week. And then he gives everyone a lesson on ratings.
I'm going to explain how the ratings work, all you little kids out there.
Yes.
Exasperated JR says, oh, God.
Said,
oh, Lord, he says.
It's great to get the most viewers, Jericho explains, but the most important thing is the 18 to 49-year-old demo, the demo. And I have never lost the demo. That makes me the demo god. Now, it was a great match.
You know what I loved about when he called himself the demo god? He does his big speech about the 18 to 49 numbers, which they always win. JR just doesn't want to hear one word about these fucking demos. He's just sick of hearing about them. Jericho talks about being the king of the ratings. He is the demo god. And all of the wrestlers who are also winners boo.
Well,
they boo that they are winning in the Prime demo every week. I laughed.
Well, they're booing that he is taking all the credit.
I see.
Yes. He's taking all the credit for all their success. So
well, they should know that there's a bunch of quarters, and he was speaking of his quarters. He's never lost 18 to 49.
That's true. That is true. So Jericho says, everyone told me Orange looked like a star just being in the ring with me, and they're right. Now, I know all about drawing money. Orange Cassidy wants a rematch. The network wants a rematch. All the advertisers in the important demo want a rematch. So, Orange Cassidy, you want a rematch? Well, you're not going to get one. And they all cackle. All of them. So the fans in attendance begin to chant that he's scared of Orange or scared of Cassie. You're scared, whatever it was. Jericho says, there's no way I'm going to be scared of this little dweeb with his sunglasses and denim jacket. Orange, you got to hang with Le Champion for one night. Now you can go back to hugging your best friends and just look back on the one night you were a main eventer. So Orange, this one's for you. And they all drink some orange juice. And this one's for your dead career. And they pour orange juice all over the mat. So Orange begins to saunter out through the non-crowd. And Jericho says, all right, you came out here face-to-face. I'll talk to you face-to-face. You did great last week, Orange Cassidy. But the fact is, you don't have what it takes to hang with Le Champion. You're lazy. You got a bad attitude. You're a sloth. You're entitled. There will never be a rematch. So shove those sunglasses up your ass and get out of my arena. And Orange just stands there, of course, listening to all this, taking it all in. Lets Jericho finish. And then he very slowly does his dramatic half-assed thumbs up and then turns it over to a thumbs down. And we cut to a wide shot of Daly's place so we can see from high above the ring. I don't know how many gallons of orange juice fall out of the sky, but a lot of orange juice falls out of the sky. It douses Le Champion. It douses the inner circle. And then Ortiz has the best minute of his entire career. So Jericho is outraged and humiliated. Hager is outraged and humiliated. Santana is outraged and humiliated. But they're all on their feet still. They're just wet. Ortiz, just as the juice falls, starts to walk, does the biggest slip of a banana peel fall, goes flat in his back in the middle of the ring. Every time he tries to get up, he falls back down. But the key is, it's only him. Like, if all four guys were struggling to get to their feet, it also would have been funny. It still would have been funny. But the fact that they're fine and he still can't get up, that made it 100 times funnier.
He needs new shoes.
I'm laughing my
Soles
ass.
are worn down.
I'm just laughing my ass off at all this. Jericho screams. This out into the mic, of course. This outfit costs $7,000. He looks at Ortiz, who's now on like attempt number 27 to get to his feet. Get up, you idiots! Somebody get me a towel! A towel comes flying into the crowd. Jericho catches it and goes to wipe his face. And in the process, he unfolds it so he can't see it, but we at home can. And it's an Orange Cassidy beach towel. Available right now at AEWshop.com. This is so wonderful. It filled my heart with joy. It was glorious to behold. I loved it with all my heart.
I did love that they announced that you could grab this towel immediately at Shop AEW, as well as
Excuse me, yes.
your Demo God T-shirt, which is available as well. Yes. This it's funny. I guess I shouldn't be surprised of all people, but Jericho's Demo Talk and Demo God deal was very controversial on the internet. I thought, don't I know that? Every week I put these fucking numbers up and
Yes.
all these crazy motherfuckers come out of the woodwork. Let's see where we're at, by the way, right now. Just for fun. So, let's see. There it is. AW 788, NXT 631. 7,071 likes, 1,169 retweets, 951 fucking comments. What the fuck do you have to say about this? 951 fucking comments? Jesus. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, Jericho, this is hardly a revelation in 2020. He's incredibly smart, and he is
No
working.
shit.
He is working his audience, and his audience is the kind of audience that's going to get really riled up by a guy bragging about ratings wins.
I was initially disappointed because, when he opens up the towel, it's like, oh man, Jericho's going to fucking flip out right now. And they went to commercial. I was like, what the fuck did you go to commercial right now for? You're missing the best part. But to their credit, after the Jurassic Express promo, Jericho is drenched, and he goes to do commentary, and literally they replay everything over and over, slow
Multiple
motion,
angles, yes.
different angles, and he's fucking freaking out for all of it. It was awesome. It was great.
So there is a Jurassic Express promo. Alex Marvez tries to interview him about their match, but Marco's too distracted. He's laughing too hard at the idiot who stood there and got doused in orange juice. And Luchasaurus says, yes, that was funny. But after 65 million years, a dinosaur finally gets to wrestle the Elite, and there's nothing funny about that. And he looks down at Marco and says, got your kick pads? Marco says, no. Lucha says, doesn't matter. They leave.
Yeah.
So Jericho does, in fact, join the announce desk. He did see all this. He's very unhappy with, well, everyone, really. By name, Orange Cassidy, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, Marco Stunt. And they show many, many replays. And do, in fact, plug, here I wrote it down. You can buy the towel on shopaew.com. Jurassic Express versus the Elite.
I got to say, since the guy made this public on, I think, our board, actually, there was a promoter that was trying to set up a tag team match that would have involved me and Kenny Omega in the ring together, which, can you imagine? It's just preposterous, okay? As preposterous as the thought of that match is, I saw Marco Stunt in the ring with Kenny Omega.
That is true.
I couldn't even believe my eyes. And
well, Brian, okay.
he gets in there, and Kenny Omega just bullies him from the moment they lock up. It's not even a lockup. It's like they touch, and Kenny Omega shoves him through the mat like twice. Mm-hmm. But then Marco makes this big fucking comeback, and Kenny Omega is flying all over the place for this guy, and he's flipping, and he's bumping, and he's slipping on the banana peel. That was the craziest thing I've seen in wrestling in some time now.
Well, Brian, I know you have had your run-ins with the Stunt family. Not on your Christmas card list. And I know...
I did better. Now you mention it, I did better against Marco Stunt than Kenny Omega did.
Well, I know Kenny Omega...
I hadn't thought about that till just now.
Well, maybe you should, Tio. You can teach us some pointers. But I know Kenny Omega played a large part in this as well. But I thought Marco Stunt looked better here than he ever has before.
He was great in this match.
Awesome.
And you know what? Everybody was great in this match.
This is the key. Because
every single solitary one of them had a great performance in this match.
You kind of jumped into it. You're talking about Marco and Omega, which is noteworthy and worth talking about. But yes, this match was spectacular. This match was gold. Like, The 8-man tag last week was probably better, but I had more fun watching this. All 6 guys look awesome. Nick Jackson and Jungle Boy were great together. Kenny Omega and Marco were great together. This match is just all kinds of fun. Everyone looks fantastic. And there's a 7th person who was fantastic in this match. His name is Chris Jericho. While Nick and Jungle Boy are in the ring being awesome, Jericho's ranting about how the Elite have their show being the Elite. They ask me to do that show every week. You know what I say? And Jamal says, what do you say? I say no! We see Hangman Page in his bar pouring himself a drink watching this match. Marco's running wild on Omega. And Jericho says, I want Omega to get pinned. And then I'm going to go to the ring and take his head off with a Hansen clothesline. There's a long story where Jericho is questioning the legitimacy of Luchasaurus' claim to be 65 million years old.
This was like fucking me and Dave on Observer Radio. Jericho goes, I don't think that he's actually 65 million years old.
He says,
I haven't seen his birth certificate, I think he said.
I want to see the birth certificate. And Excalibur, I think Excalibur first said, do you want to see his birth certificate? Because Jericho replied, yes, I want to see his birth certificate. Excalibur, you geek!
I think he said, you probably have it, you geek.
He called him a geek for sure.
Yes.
But Excalibur then explains, well, 65 million years ago, they didn't have any paper to have a birth certificate.
I think he said papyrus.
He may have said papyrus. And Jericho dials it down, backs off, comes in and says that is a strong point.
Yes, he accepted his defeat.
So they're doing this match. It's a lot of fun. Everyone's just running wild and going crazy. They go to commercial, and as the screen is fading to black, Jericho, who for 15 minutes now has moved on with his life, he's just being a professional announcer, as it fades to black, you just hear him scream, I'm covered in orange juice! I'm laughing. The match continues. Luchasaurus ends up isolated with all 3 guys in the Elite, but he's a dinosaur, so he comes out on top for a while.
If only they had a comet.
Or an ice age. Yes, Glacier needs to be the one to take Luchasaurus out. So FTR is shown joining the Hangman for a drink.
Ray Kameta.
They're all drinking buddies now. Then Omega takes over, reminds everyone he's one of the best wrestlers in the entire world, which sometimes is easy to forget in this show, but he is. And he snapdragons everybody. And there's a big spot. They actually screwed up Marco's entrance. They wanted to do a spot where they would, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus would reach down, grab his hands, and yank him from the floor up into the ring. And he tripped over the ropes, and everyone had a good laugh at it. So they tried it again in the match, yank him up over the ropes into a Hurricane Rana. They pulled it off this time, looked great. We have Jericho calling referee Rick Knox a slow counting, bald-looking dummy. Says it's probably a Garth Brooks song. There's a triple Tiger Driver 98, an amazing Hurricane Rana big splash spot, a very convoluted Canadian Destroyer into the ring. And finally, Omega just V-triggers everyone on Earth, grabs Marco Stunt, who is able to escape one-winged angel and get a roll-up. This angers Kenny Omega, who's already having a bad night, so he V-triggers him to death, finally hits the one-winged angel, gets the win. Dear God in heaven, I love this match. It warmed my soul.
Yeah, this match was awesome. I mean, Marco lost, but this upped his stock considerably, even in getting killed to death in this match by Kenny Omega. Omega's beating the shit out of him after the match.
That was strange.
Bucks pull him off. Nick tells him, it's over. Nick goes to apologize to the Jurassic Express. I'm sorry our man beat your man up after the match. Kenny says, it was a match. Luchasaurus yells, it was after the match. They did it. There was no mic. It's just they're yelling at each other. Mm-hmm. Felt very real.
Yeah.
And clearly, Kenny's turning here soon. I shouldn't say soon.
Yeah.
The seeds have been planted. And quite frankly, I mean, FTR should beat Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. And if you look back at where everything was pre-coronavirus, I mean, it seemed abundantly clear that Hangman Page was going to turn heel. But who the fuck in their right mind is going to turn Hangman Page heel now?
Yeah.
So if the idea from day one was they're going to be a team and eventually Hangman's going to turn on Kenny, and you saw them tease it many times, setting up for the buckshot and everything like that.
The whole story. Yeah, the whole story they couldn't get along. Yeah.
Well, now you can't have a Hangman go heel. So you turn Kenny Omega. That's what I think's happening.
I guess.
And I think that they should split. FTR wins the titles, and you do FTR versus the Bucks for the belts.
That all makes sense. This execution, the timing of this little bit was very strange to me for a couple of reasons. This was not Cody getting frustrated and yanking a turnbuckle pad off in desperation, as we saw earlier in the show. The match was won. He'd accomplished what he set out to do. He'd punished this little fucker for messing with him all night, and then just went back afterwards to elbow him in the head repeatedly. It was a very strange thing, especially because they have already started the tease for a trios match with the drinking buddies of Paige and FTR versus the Elite. So it's all, the timing of it is all very weird to me. But I agree with your long-term goal that FTR should beat Omega and Paige, and then eventually, in a long, long time, eventually they should be the team that the Young Bucks beat to win the titles. But we have all of 2020 at least to get through that. Alex Marvez interviews Hikaru Shida.
So am I the only one that watched this and thought that Hikaru Shida came off as trying to avoid Nyla Rose?
I watched it and thought I have no idea what she was trying to say. It was a very bad promo. So I was more confused and underwhelmed, but sure. Marvez says something about how 4 of the top 5 challengers are not able to compete for one reason or another. Of course, Britt is injured, Swole is suspended, and I don't know what the other 2 are. But he asks...
Statlander's injured.
Okay. Shida, are you ready to accept a rematch from Nyla Rose? And here's exactly what I wrote down. Shida says she is always ready. If Nyla thinks she is tough enough and has enough passion, let's find out. Or something. It was bad.
Well.
There you go. Moxley does a promo. He's against a chain link fence somewhere. The last several weeks have not been the best for him. He's been pissed off about a great many things. But tonight, he gets to go to the ring. He gets to hit. He gets to get hit. He gets to live on the edge of a lightning bolt. Tonight is Fight for the Fallen, and we fight for all the loved ones we've missed, at which point he taps his Danny Havoc t-shirt. And later in the show, Excalibur will explain the significance of that to everyone. Now, Taz, I watched your Technique with Taz segment. You say Cage is too swole for me to hit the paradigm shift. Well, maybe he is. In that case, I'll just tear his bicep in half. You know, the bicep that he had surgically repaired that kept him on the shelf for 5 months. I'm going to tear his bicep in 2, enjoy the hospital. It was awesome.
Do you know how many fucking times I watch WWE and I see someone do a promo or I see an angle, and having watched this for over 35 years now, all over the world, I think, well, this has to be where they're going. After being yelled at up and down the roads by Buddy Wayne about logic in pro wrestling fucking a million times, this is where they've got to be going. And they just don't go anywhere near that. They just do something totally fucking random. How many times that's happened?
At least 20 years now.
Well, Moxley does a promo, and he says, maybe you're too big for me to hit my move, so you know what I'm going to do? Well, you're coming back from a bicep injury, so maybe I'll target your bicep, and I'll tear that fucking thing off the bone and put you in the hospital. So, when I heard that promo, I thought, I wonder if Moxley's going to target his fucking injured bicep and it will lead to the finish of the match. No. That would be fucking crazy. I was wrong! They actually did. They actually explained what they were going to do.
And then they did it.
And then they did it. And it was great. Because it fucking made sense. Why is this so hard?
It's not.
You're right.
It's not.
Why is it so hard for the other fucking guy?
It is.
The other fucking guy was involved in this business before I was even born.
Yeah.
Before I was even born, he was in this business. He bought it from his dad when I was fucking 4. And he can't figure this shit out. I have to watch it. Can you please figure this shit out, Vince? God damn it. Anyway, this is a great promo.
The Nightmare Sisters the team of Allie and Brandy Rhodes versus Kenzie Page and MJ Jenkins. So it's Cody Rhodes' wife, QT Marshall's girlfriend. They don't trust each other. They don't like each other. They're bicker. I know it's the long-term storyline. I know it's what they're doing and where they're going. There's a point to it, but God, it's their first match on Dynamite and they're bitching at each other. I'm like, oh, I'm already sick of this. They did a short squash match. In the end, they worked together. Allie pinned Jenkins with a crappy final cut. Dustin proudly raises Brandy's hand and reluctantly raises Allie's hand as well.
Well, the one positive thing I will say, Vinny, is that I expected to write my review and say, this went 10 times longer than it needed to. But in fact, this may have been the shortest match in the history of Dynamite. They got in, got out, and it was over. So there you go.
Off the top of your head, what do you think was shorter, this match or Timothy Thatcher and Denzel Dejournette?
I feel like they were pretty much exactly the same length.
Yeah. By the way, Denzel Dejournette's name is Denzel Dejournette, and I already can say it off of memory without looking it up after just because that one match was so awesome.
Yes.
It's important. Nyla Rose is a promo. Was it Dasha who was out there? Yes, Dasha. Last week, you said you hired a manager. Any word who that might be? And Nyla says, I don't want to tell you anything. You call me former champion. I'm not telling you anything. I'm not telling anyone anything. I'll let them say it for themselves. At this point, Vicky Guerrero's new dubstep theme begins to play. It's the best. It's her shrieking, excuse me, auto-tuned into a melody. It's fucking great. Vicky comes out. And in case you had forgotten, Vicky Guerrero's an awesome promo.
Hey, listen, I gotta say, when she introduced Vicky Guerrero, at first I was like, no. It's another
manager.
It's another manager. It's another former WWE star. And it's a former WWE star from like well over a decade ago when she was like the GM of SmackDown.
Sure.
It's like, not only are you going to the past, but you're going to the past with another WWE name, and we don't need another new manager. I was very down on it when they introduced her. But honest to God, when she got in the ring and cut that promo,
yeah,
I thought, she's a pretty fucking good promo. She's a better promo than Nyla. And
yes.
that's the job
yes.
of the manager. So I'm not thrilled for all of the reasons that I mentioned, but she is very good at her job. I'm glad she's employed, and I will give it time.
I will say on top of all that, she's also, very good friends with Chris Jericho. And it felt, when she came out, I had the same feeling. It felt like a person getting an opportunity just because of who they knew, which is not the first time that's happened in pro wrestling, of course. But she came out, her music is unbelievably great, and then she cut an awesome promo. She tells Dasha, she's not going to, of course, explain all of their plans for right now. They will challenge for the women's title at the perfect time. But she has a message to the other women in the AEW locker room. You need to stop lying to yourselves about how great you are. You'll never be smart enough to cheat to win. And Nyla is going to steal every opportunity to win the title. And then she throws her head back and cackles. I love this promo. Between the Orange Juice segment, the Jurassic Express Elite match, and then Vicky's promo here, I wanted to sing. This show was so awesome. Next week, Cody defends the TNT title. Hangman Page returns to take on 5 of the Dark Order. That's a guy named 5, not 5 different members of the Dark Order. New faces, Evilise versus Diamante. I'm sure I butchered her name.
Evilise. Look at that.
Evilise is new, yes. MJF will be in action. The Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade in a match that is, for some reason, falls count anywhere. And the Jurassic Express will take on the team of Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. And Jericho is very excited to get his hands on these Jurassic Express bastards who laughed at him when he was covered in orange juice.
Actually, he should want to get his hands on Marco Stunt.
That's actually true. Marco's the one guy out of the match.
The longest, but he's not in this match.
I hadn't thought of that,
because he's dead.
True. Brian Cage versus John Moxley. Taz is a promo first. he heard Moxley chirping some propaganda bullshit about how the machine's not 100%. While you were quarantining with your wifey, this guy was working a full schedule, training his ass off. Come on out here, Moxley.
Full schedule.
One match a week? Yeah. Yeah, Buddy would have laughed at that one. Come on out here and bring that AEW title. So Moxley comes out. Oh, I've missed this guy. He's such an awesome champion. So the match starts, and Jon Moxley does just what he promised he was going to do. He attacks the bicep. Now, here's the thing. Cage has recovered from his surgery. He was cleared to compete. He has been winning matches since. This bicep is not 0%. So when Moxley grabs him with an armbar, Cage just kind of sneers at him like he's been through worse. He picks him up, he curls him with the bicep, and then throws him over his head. But Moxley was right. He never said the arm was 0%. He said not 100%. And he stuck to his game plan. And he went through arm bars and kimuras and hammer locks and wrist locks, arm and shoulder targeting over and over again. And the more he worked it over, the more Cage started to be in pain.
Are you telling me he softened it up?
He softened it up. Wow. He has a long-term game plan. What happened at the beginning of the match affected what happened in the middle of the match, which led to what happened at the end of the match. This is called telling a story. So, for the most part, while Cage's arm still hurts, he's a machine. He's destroying Moxley, throwing him on a guardrail that's leaning against the ring, suplexing him onto a chair. Now, I did love this match. There was one point near the end where Cage gets whipped into the corner, and he tries to do the shoulder to the post spot, and it's so horrible that I am yanked out of the match. So, I will admit, that was bad. But they kept on going, and everything after that was great. Moxley tried a paradigm shift, and as promised, Cage is swole. He couldn't get the move. But he's tried it again a few seconds later. He got it, but Cage is swole. Moxley couldn't get all of it, and Cage kicked at it too. So Mox went back to plan A, which is tear this man's arm in half. He tear his biceps in half, is what he said. He tried a Kimura, cross-arm breaker, something like the label lock. They're rolling around on the mat, transitioning to different holds for like 2 minutes. Taz can see this. Taz is no dummy. Taz can see where this is going. Taz has an investment to protect. If Brian Cage's arm is torn in half, if he goes back on the shelf, Taz is not making money. Taz grabs his orange towel. He throws it into the ring. And the announcers make it very clear he has saved his man several months of rehab. So the match is over. Moxley has won. He's beaten the machine. He's still the AEW World Champion. But Cage, of course, also has his belt, the FTW belt. He levels Moxley with a belt, goes in to attack him some more when the lights go out. Darby Allin makes his big return, dives at the top rope, levels Cage with a skateboard, and then apparently they all did this about 2 minutes too early because we got 2 minutes of everyone just milling around and filling time for a while. But that was that. And then they're explaining Moxley's still champion. Darby's music is playing. There's issues to be settled between Moxley and Darby, issues between Darby and Cage, probably between Cage and Moxley, all of this. And as they're wrapping up the show and the lights are starting to dim, Jericho again screams, "I'm covered in orange juice!" And Jim Ross adds, "You stink!"
I gotta say that I loved the match, loved the story, thought it was great. Last week, I did question, why the fuck did they give Taz the FTW, or why did Taz give Brian Cage the FTW title before this match? And I stand by that 100%. And they can still do this, what I'm about to say. But you also could have introduced the title by doing this. And that is, Brian Cage never quit. He never gave up.
That is true.
And Taz ended up throwing in the towel. Taz is the one that ended the match, not Brian Cage. And there's a very easy promo to cut here about how this is why I am giving this man the FTW title.
Dude, now that I'm thinking about it, that would have made so much more sense.
He got stuck in this move, and his mindset was, fuck it. You obviously can't say that on TV, but that was his mindset. Fuck it. Fuck the world. Fuck this arm. I'm not quitting. I will lie here in this hold until you tear my arm off, and then I will kill you. I will drill claw you with my other arm. That's why I'm gifting him this title. The toughest motherfucker I ever saw.
There's that.
Easiest promo.
There's not just that, but Taz is the one who threw in the towel. So there's a reason for Cage to be mad at Taz, and then, therefore, a reason for Taz to try to redeem himself in Cage's eyes by gifting him with a belt. That would all make so much more sense than what they're doing.
All of this.
Well,
I mean, you could still do the promo. I mean, you could still have Taz just come out and say, I gave this guy this belt. Some of you didn't know why. Now you know. This guy never gave up. He never quit. F the arm. F the bicep. F you. I'll never quit. That's why he's the FTW champion. It's an easy story. But anyway, thought the match was really good. Great story. I mean, this is what you want in a world title match. And Moxley's the champion. It's not even a negative of the match, and it's not a negative of any of the actual performers that worked on the show. It's the performers in the crowd. And I don't even know if it was just miking or what, but this crowd was more dead than any Dynamite crowd that we've heard in months. I don't know why. I don't know if it was they were tired. Maybe it was really hot. Maybe they had the masks on and they weren't used to being so hot outside with the mask. I don't know what it was, but they were not as wild and crazy. It was not the usual AEW vibe. And I thought it hurt certain things on this show, like especially the Darby return. Like the Darby return, like obviously you can't have a crowd. If you had a crowd, they would have gone batshit crazy for this guy. But even like, the wrestlers in the crowd, it was like he showed up and they like clapped and he did his spot and they cheered, but it was missing something. And, it's not their fault. It's not AEW's fault. What can you do? You're in the middle of a pandemic. But it was noticeable that the crowd was less excited for this show than for many, many shows. Like any show I can remember since they started putting people in there. It was weird. But there you go. Show was great. Do we even need to do our
I was just going to say,
post-show?
We're voting AEW.
Yes,
AEW was clearly
wins.
the better show this week.
Yes.
And as usual, that's not a knock on NXT, which is a fine little show. But God, this AEW was fun.
Very, very fun show. And, I mean, this goes all the way back to what I talked about at the beginning of the show. Yes, this was Fight for the Fallen. Yes, they had a world title match that they were forced to move to this show because of circumstances involving WWE, actually.
Yes.
But, the big shows were last week and the week prior. And NXT hot-shotted to beat them those 2 weeks. But then the chickens came home to roost this week. They had the world title match, but I mean, what it was NXT had no follow-up to their big Great American Bash. And AEW did, in fact, use their 2 shows to build storylines for the next day. I guess the closest analogy would be when WWE builds everything up to WrestleMania, and WrestleMania happens, and then there's like the next day. And, that became the Raw after Mania, where they debuted a bunch of people and everything like that. But then there was the week after. And there was always that post-WrestleMania downswing because they built towards one day and had very little to follow up with. And the key is when you're doing these shows, you've got to book long-term. If you're going to hotshot the Great American Bash, you got to use the Bash to build up some stuff for the next day and the show after and the show after. And AEW has been very successful at doing that. And NXT, they've been less successful. And I think that explains the ratings this week. Anyway, we're out of time.